So yeah, this session was pretty much intentionally not well publicized. And my name and Dan's name and Moxie's name was not on it. Partially because, and Rich's name, partially because I wasn't sure who was going to be on the panel with me. Excuse me? Oh, he's on the phone. So I'll just kind of give you a little brief background of what we're going to do, and we want to involve you in it. That's why it's a call to action. And so before we get started, I just want to introduce everybody. Here's Rich Marshall. Say hello, Rich. Yeah, just say hi.
All right, a couple of ground rules. I'm currently the Director of Global Cybersecurity Management with the Department of Homeland Security. But the views that you're going to hear expressed by me today are not necessarily those of the department. Because I'm big on information sharing, there's a price to pay. I'm giving you information, you're going to give us information, and we got to trust each other. And part of that trust means protecting it. So I'm going to be speaking primarily as a public citizen, just as you're going to be speaking primarily as a public citizen. This is not an advocacy piece. This is a socializing thing that we want to discuss today.
Yep, and then many of you know Dan Kaminsky on my left.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And on his left is Moxie Marlin Spike.
I don't have any ground rules.
You can walk up and punch him in the face, and that's cool.
Bring it.
And then
Art.
Like Rich, I've been in career civil servant for a long time, and I'm here just representing my own views. I think this is a very important topic that's being raised, and I came up here because I want to encourage what the panel is going to propose.
Okay, great. So let's get started. So originally, the idea here is that I want to start off telling you about my ideas, have a debate amongst the panelists, and then start involving you. And between all of us, we're going to come up with a call to action, a letter, a request for signatures, and then ultimately during October, which is, how many people here knew that October is the 7th annual Cybersecurity Awareness Month?
Wow.
Yeah, so I figured, well, hey, October's coming up, may as well use that as a time to publicly launch this open letter. So what is this open letter? Well, at Black Hat I talked briefly about, I had done 13 Black Hats, and I was asking the audience rhetorically, like, what have we actually solved as a computer security community? I mean, what problems can we just say, we nailed it. It's gone, it's, did we ever solve dealing up with, war dialing, modem banks, or did we just move on to something else? Did we ever really solve problems with X25, or did we just move on to TCP/IP? I mean, what did we really ever solve? So my contention was that the underpinnings of everything we do online is fundamentally email, web, name resolution, and routing. And each one is pretty much has problems. And so how can it be that we have 1,000 vendors selling us 1,000 security products, yet we still can't email each other securely, we can't route, we can't resolve names, and we can't browse? There's something broken about that. And let's try to fix that, because I'm getting really tired of talking in circles about this stuff. So what encouraged me was, after 11 years, DNSSEC has finally got the root signed. And for part of that, I'd like to credit Dan's bug, because I think that accelerated the process by 2 or 3 years. I mean, that really moved things up quickly. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what else on this hit list can we move up quickly? What's within our grasp to change? And I don't know if it's in our grasp to fix SMTP. And I don't know if it's in our grasp to fix secure BGP. I mean, there's some really bright people. DHS, S&T has been spending a lot of money working on this. They have vendor working groups. That one seems like it's a problem almost above the heads of average people. But it's being addressed, and it's budgeted, and everybody recognizes it's a problem. It's the secure browsing portion I want to talk about today. And what inspired me was, if you guys noticed that browsers are sort of moving toward this HTTPS always capability, not necessarily by default, but there's a capability starting to be baked in. And you saw this in no script supporting STS, strict transport security, and you see EFF releasing a tool. The Chrome browser supports STS by default. Future browsers are going to support this HTTPS always sort of capability by default in the future. And it seems like the browsers are starting to move in that direction. We're starting to get to the point, a couple years from now, every browser will support the capability of just always having an always encrypted experience online. And boy, wouldn't that be great. Now, there's some problems with this, and Moxie is probably the foremost expert with all the problems with SSL and TLS. But what I want to do is have a conversation with these guys. Is this a worthy goal to gather the energy of the community and say to companies at large, this is the direction the world is going? It is too important to have publicly to encourage us to submit to you our private details, whether it's a social networking site or email or webmail or chat. You're encouraging us to use your services to share our private details, yet we do not have an option to experience it all in a secure fashion. And I'm starting to say, no, that's not right. That's not acceptable anymore. And you used to be able to argue expense or complexity, but I'm saying over the next several years, I bet you can innovate. I bet you can find a way, just like Google's finding a way, to have an always HTTPS experience. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about. So is that something you guys might be interested in listening to and helping out with? Yeah. Okay, well, let's start off the conversation. So I'm kind of surprised, or you might be sort of surprised that, somebody from Rich, from somebody from DHS, or in your prior life you were at NSA, might have such strong privacy feelings. But it didn't take hardly anything to convince Rich that this was something he would want to be involved in. So why don't we start with Rich? I mean, and anybody can speak up at any time. The goal is, at the end, we will have a consensus of, is this worth pursuing? And if it is, come October, how do we present it? And initially my idea is we'll come up with we have a problem statement, we'll come up with our proposed call or action of what we would view as success. Would it be 2 years from now the top 5 internet sites are all SSL? Would it be, we'll come up with some metric. And then we'll take that to experts in the community. We'll try to gather as many signatures as we can. We'll go to the broad community, get you guys to do maybe an online petition, and then we'll either take ads out in newspapers. We'll do something high profile, editorials in big newspapers, whatever. But we'll really try to swing public consensus toward the idea that there's really not any more roadblocks. The browsers are moving in this direction. The technology exists. So now is the time to do it and not wait around for another 5 years. 11 years to get secure DNS is, I don't want to wait 11 years. So I want to get this rolling. Right?
Right.
Right.
All right. Let me share with you some observations at kind of a high level, and then we'll work down. Probably my greatest claim to fame is having been the legal architect for Eligible Receiver 97. If you're not familiar with Eligible Receiver 97, Google it, but I'll give you the capsule summary. It was an information warfare exercise that demonstrated to the United States leadership at the highest levels that computer security needed to be on the forefront, that information warfare was real, and that was under President Clinton. So we started getting higher level interest in this delicate subject way back in 1997. And as my colleague Jeff has said so many times, we just have not made the appropriate amount of progress. I think we're starting to see that. 72 bills in Congress associated with cybersecurity. That's a big focus.
Well, and last year there were 0.
That's correct.
Right, 0 to 72 in 1 year. So momentum is building very quickly, and if we don't get involved, it's going to zoom right past us. And I don't want to have any of this stuff really mandated. I'd rather have it be voluntary adoption.
The Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, has encouraged his colleagues to consolidate those 72 bills early, come up with one that the administration can support. So the point is, there is interest at the top, both on the administration and in Congress, to change the environment. Now, as taxpayers, as users of the system, We've got three choices. We can make things happen, we can watch things happen, or we can wonder what's happened. We've been wondering too long. It's time to start shaping our environment. We need to shape our computer ecosystem. Part of the responsibilities that I have in my current job, which I've had for 6 months and 1 week and 1 day, is secure
6 hours. Yeah. 15.
Secure computing. Now, there's been a tremendous amount of effort in that. Safe Code has been a very strong advocate of that. But in my personal opinion, there's been too much, let's have tent meetings and talk to the converted. We need to start nailing some skulls to the wall. And that's a crude expression to say, let's get some results. Let's get people doing secure coding, not just the major vendors, but downstream as well. Second area of concern is supply chain risk management. That has been ignored far too long. Thomas Friedman, in one of his books, The Earth is Flat, talked about 72 countries, 72 producers, vendors in over 12 countries that put together his laptop computer. Tremendous risk exposure for someone to put in an undocumented feature with a phone home capability that we may or may not be interested in. Education is another big thing that I push. A big push on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm going to put a C in front of that because we're just not doing enough in that. The American public spends more money on astrology than the American government spends on basic research, R&D, to computer security. We need to change that. Now, I'm not necessarily endorsing any of the techniques that my technical colleagues are going to talk about, but I'm happy to be up here on this panel because we need to start affecting change in a positive way in making the ecosystem in the computer world better. And I'm convinced we can do it.
Any thoughts, Dan?
So, if you want to improve the nature of at least computer security, three things have to happen. First, you got to find a problem. It has to be something that is actually wrong that would need to be remediated. Second, you have to actually get a fix built, meaning the bits actually have to be rewritten. The code has to exist, but you're not done yet. The third thing is deployment. Whatever it is that was wrong, where the potential fix could be applied, the fix actually needs to get out the door. This sort of full life cycle of bug to repair is the challenge, because it's very easy to just find the bug, it's very easy to just get the fix, and then say, well, you know, we'll leave the rest as an exercise to the reader. Leaving the rest as an exercise has left a lot of work undone. We can do better. Part of doing better is figuring out what it actually means to get stuff deployed, what it actually means to make things available and accessible in the larger market. You know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who do not care about security in the sense of they don't want to do any work for it, but they still want to be safe, they still want to be secure. And you know what? That's okay. I want to take my key and put it into my car's ignition and go. And I don't want to have to care about anything happening under the hood. You guys might be car people, someone in the audience. I'm not one of you. I just want it to work. And how do we make stuff so
well, in this context, right,
enough to do?
How is your browsing experience just fundamentally more secure than it is now, or more private? Why do I have to type in HTTPS versus HTTP or whatever? Why isn't it just default to the secure option?
Precisely. And I think the ultimate reason why is because so few people have deployed entirely secure sites that if you're a browser manufacturer, you say, well, look, okay, 0.00, I'll support Gmail just fine. Okay, well, there's the rest of the web as well. So there are interesting things you can do when you work 0.1% of the time, when you work 1%, when you work 10, when you work 50, when you work 90. We have to exert force so that the secure solution is available and functional and easy more and more of the time. And that's work that I think the next few years is going to involve.